speed of execution is also a function of the clarity that you have as a founder as well. And so it defines the speed of execution. So I think that's a really important thing on the founder side, just being able to execute fast, whether that's across product, sales, really across the board.
Anand Engineer is an early stage investor
focused on fast growth software and AI companies.
You need to be somebody that people like. You need to be someone that people want to work for, and that's going to drive your recruiting. That's going to drive your sales.
What are you looking for in terms of their personality, their characteristics, their background? What makes you say yes?
If you look at a lot of successful...
Welcome back to Decoded. My name's Alfie Whattam, and this is the show where I speak to experts about what it takes to build great teams and companies. Make sure that you click the follow or subscribe button for more great content like this, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. So you're an investor at Scrum Ventures, which has backed 130 plus companies now, which is absolutely insane. So what about you personally? Like, what are you looking for when you're deciding to invest in a startup?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that it is worthwhile to mention that I couldn't speak for the first 6 years of my life. I'm someone with a speech impairment, so a lot of human the qualities are very important to me. Just someone who's very empathetic, someone who's a very strong sort of a leader. So I look at a lot of the behavioral characteristics of the founder and the space that we operate in. We operate in the early stage investment space. It's all about the founder. You don't have the numbers to go off of. Oftentimes, even if you do, it's hard to paint the full sort of the picture based on the numbers. So you really have to understand the founder. You really have to understand their background. You really have to understand their strengths. And not all founder profiles are the same. And there's not one sort of a profile that fits. It's what they call founder market fit. Are you the right founder for the market and the problem that you're solving for? So I think the humans or the component of a business is very important, and that comes down to the founder and the leadership team that they have. So that's obviously one piece that we really try to understand. I would say the other key thing that we really try to understand, especially in kind of the world of AI, is essentially why now. Has this not been possible in the past? Why is it possible now? And we're looking for net new AI solutions that are unlocking net new, or that are unlocking problems or solutions that were not like invented in the past. And so I think that's a really important thing that we look for, the why now.
Yeah.
And obviously things like the market size, and there's a variety of the criteria, but it usually just comes down to the founder, the timing of the market, and the size of the market for us for the most part.
I mean, like the why now and like the TAM is kind of easy enough to understand and articulate. But in terms of the founder themselves, we'll go into founder market fit in a moment. But what is it about the person that you're looking for? Like, all you've got is a deck, maybe 2 meetings before you have to make a decision. Like, this is a quick moving market. Like, what are you looking for in terms of their personality, their characteristics, their background? What makes you say yes?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking, obviously speed is extremely important. We're looking for someone that operates extremely fast. I think that, there's like the functional skill sets of the human, and then there's like the behavioral side of the human. Also on the functional side, again, I think speed is something that's really important for what like a lot of AI right now is just moving extremely fast. You have billion-dollar companies within 9 months, 6 months. It's absolutely insane. I'm sure you might be there soon as well. But I mean, that's what it is, right? It's about speed. It's about being very, very iterative. It's taking that customer feedback and having a machine in place to kind of really iterate your product. So speed of execution and speed of execution is also a function of the clarity that you have as a founder as well. And so clarity kind of it defines the speed of execution. So I think that's a really important thing on the founder side, just being able to execute fast, whether that's across product, sales, really across the board. Then the other piece of this is, so just by the way, in terms of speed, it's not that hard to kind of understand speed. You can have a conversation with somebody and just understand what's been done over the past year. You can understand the product cycles. You can kind of get a sense of how fast they're operating, how fast they're iterating. Traction is also a really good indicator of this as well, obviously. On the behavioral side, obviously, it's really, everyone always wants to present themselves in the best light. I think that you get the real light when you start to interview folks around them, and you start to kind of understand what they think about the the leader on the team, so you get 360 feedback across the board from their investors, their advisors, their other employees, their C-suite employees, even like just their like the regular engineers, right? Even their customers or users. Oftentimes in the early stages of a business, the founder is still very involved. So I love to get the perspective of a customer. Hey, how involved is XYZ in these conversations? How fast are they responding to you? How fast are they actually like introducing the features that you guys are requesting and things like that? So that gives me a really good indication on kind of the behavioral side of just kind of the pull towards the founder and CEO. You need to be somebody that people like. You need to be someone that people want to work for, and that's going to drive your recruiting. It's going to drive your sales. It's going to drive a lot of things across the board.
Okay, so you mentioned founder market fit a moment ago. Like, how are you evaluating this, and how important is it to you? Like, do you require the founders to have worked in the domain that that they're building in, or is it more the case that they just understand the problem space and they're articulating the solution around that? Like, what's your view on that whole area?
I mean, I think if you look at a lot of successful founders, especially of like billion-dollar plus companies, majority of them don't come from the industries that they're operating in right now. So I think the objective perspective is extremely valuable. That being said, I think it depends on the industry. We do a lot in the deep tech world. It's kind of hard to not have a deep tech or an engineering background and go into deep tech, and so things like that, or like there's like the biotech world, for example, or even things like manufacturing, construction. These are very large niches, and I think that you probably need to have a background in those spaces. That's just my opinion. So depending on the industry, it does help to have a background in the industry that you're trying to solve problems within. Just because I think the problems are so acute, and I think they're so acute to that specific niche, that you need to have a good understanding of not only the buyer, but also kind of what the problem actually is at a very deep level, and understand how to even expand after that as well. So there's certain industries like deep tech, biotech, manufacturing, construction, that I think it does help to have a background in that space. I think otherwise, I mean, what we really try to look for is, again, speed of execution. I mean, if we're looking at something in AI consumer, for example, I mean, it's moving so fast. I mean, you need to be somebody that is able to sell a product. You need to be able to, you need to be somebody that can create a strong brand around the product. And you need to be able to move extremely fast. And so depending on exactly what the market needs are, we look for the founder to kind of have those types of qualities. So I wouldn't say it's the same. It's very dependent on the industry. Some industries can require you have the domain expertise, some don't. Some require you to have more of the functional expertise in terms of moving fast, iterating fast, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, the speed is so key in like 2025, because if you're not moving that quickly, like somebody else is, and they're just going to beat you to it. And like if every like interesting area, especially on like the AI application layer right now, there are like very, very smart, hardworking, talented people working to capture that market. So like if you're not going 110%, somebody else will, and will beat you to it, right? And having that domain knowledge is like super helpful. I mean, like I spent 10 years in staffing and recruiting, and that really helped me when I'm building our AI recruiter product, because there's so many like little 1% improvements within the products, which somebody without this domain knowledge wouldn't have the understanding of. But you're right, like if I knew that but still did outwork everybody else, it wouldn't matter at the end of the day. Like you kind of having both is the dream. Having one of them is at least important. This is a quick message to tell you about my company, Alpha AI. We built Lisa, the world's first AI-powered recruiter, who screens candidates for you on autopilot. You can make your recruitment process 10 times faster, 90% lower cost, and significantly improve the candidate experience, all with our AI agent for hiring. Learn more at welovealpha.com or click the link below in the description. And now, back to the episode. Let's go tactical for a second. So you've looked at like hundreds, probably thousands of pitch decks at this point. What are like the red flags that turn you off? Is there anything specific which you see within the PDFs, and then like you just don't want to meet the people because of that?
There's always a lot of red flags. I think that it oftentimes comes down to just fundraising experience. I think once you've had some fundraising experience, you kind of just know how to present and the things to say to an investor. One of the things that I hate is the word product market fit. I think that it's a loosely thrown around word that I think oftentimes early stage founders will use when they're very far from product market fit. I mean, that is the holy grail. I mean,
Yeah.
the holy grail for a company to achieve product market fit, and it takes so long, right? I mean, you might even get a Series C stage, and you might not even have hit product market fit. So to be pre-seed or seed stage and say that you've hit product market fit, I think is a very naive statement, and I think that for us it means that the founder is probably pretty naive, and it pretty much presents immediate like execution risk for us. So anything that presents immediate execution risk, so things like if you're just saying we have product market fit. I was speaking to a company earlier this week, and we were trying to just understand the assumptions that go into their business. Just want to understand the assumptions a bit more, and pretty much the response that we were essentially getting is that we've sold the company in the past, and so we know what we're doing, and that's not enough. I mean, you really have to be able to break down your assumptions, and if you aren't able to break down your assumptions, if you don't know your numbers and things like that, that again presents pretty big execution risk for us. So I would say execution risk is a pretty big thing for us, and usually it's things you say, how you act, behavior. That's a pretty big one for us. I think the other pretty big red flag is that if just the market is not that large. I think in the world that we operate in, you can pretty much make an argument that any market is pretty much a large one. But sometimes I just don't think the problems are that large. And again, it comes down to the why now. If there isn't a specific, so we invest in a lot of AI. If you could do this 4 years ago, it's just not as compelling to us right now. It's just not what we see at the forefront. So the why now and the timing of the market is also something that's a pretty big red flag for us. There's a lot of decks that we just see that's just like, I just don't understand why this could not have been done 4 years ago. And if you are trying to build something now, I think that you need to keep that in mind that, hey, this could be done 4 years ago. How can I innovate it to make it more modern right now? That makes sense.
Yeah, like when I angel invest, I only really want to bet on things that don't even work right now. But like when they're building on top of the large language models, so when the next or the model afterwards unlocks, then it will work, and they'll be a year, 2 years ahead of everybody else who just starts building that because they've already got everything in place, and they've got the brand, they've got the early customers, they've got the pilots, they've got the infrastructure, and it's all set up and ready to go. And like that's really painful to try, to build something which doesn't work for like a long, and like it's hard because if you raise like a friends and family or a pre-seed to do it, you've got like a year, 2 years, it depends on what your burn is, but you need to show something to get a seed, like whether that's a first version of the product, ideally with some pilots or something. But it's hard to do that if the product just flat out doesn't work. So maybe you build like a stepping stone to that point, which at least gives you something that you can sell and get some proof of concept and some buy-in for. But yeah, like that's the way I would be approaching it. But let me ask you about AI, because you've invested in the AI space with companies like Earth AI and Authentic AI. So like, how do you think AI is going to change the world over the next 5 years? Like what are a couple of areas which are really exciting to you?
Yeah, I mean, AI is going to completely change the world. It's already changing the world actively as we speak. I also, just for your context, I run a marketing agency on the side completely run by AI, and that's been something that helps me use AI tools in addition to being the investor in AI tools. High level, man, I think software has been extremely interesting over the past 3 years. I think so. We're investors in the humanoid called Aptronic. So physical AI is a pretty big sort of a thesis for us moving forward as well. I think that obviously AI has done a lot of work in the software world right now as it relates to kind of like the images, the videos, text to text. We're seeing a lot of maturity in just the models right now, and I think now you're seeing just sort of the penetration of these models within actually verticalized use cases, healthcare, manufacturing. I don't think we're seeing a lot in the robotics world yet, and I think that there's companies like Pi, Skilled AI, that are still very much in the early stages of trying to build out the architecture of building a foundational model for the physical world. I think that once we're in a place where we can actually have a foundational model for the physical world, I think that that's what we're extremely excited by. Like obviously we're investors in Aptronic, so physical AI is something that's extremely interesting to us across the board. That's where I feel like a lot of human manual labor can really be streamlined, and US is really behind on a per capita sort of a basis in terms of the robots that we've deployed in the US. And the reason is because we have very high skilled manufacturing in the US, it's really hard to place a robot right now and do the things that a human can do.
Yeah.
But we're really compelled and think that they will be eventually be able to do this. It's a challenge right now. It's more so like architecture and an infrastructure challenge right now than it is anything else. We're very much at the early stages there. Valuations are already like insane for a lot of the companies in this space, but that's a space that we're really excited by. So that's a space that we're really keen to see really advance. I think we're seeing the maturation of software, and I think that's going to continue to improve. That's going to continue to scale, but I just don't think we've seen enough progress on the physical AI side of things.
Yeah, like the physical AI side really interests me. I've got like a lot of friends at Figure and Boston Dynamics, so like I'm like very fascinated in this world, even though I'm not a hardware person myself from a founder perspective. But like my view is that when it comes to I mean, this is a very simplistic view, but white collar work, specialized agents which do a specific task will be the leaders within each vertical of the application layer. You'll have an AI lawyer, an AI recruiter, an AI doctor, and so on. We're already seeing those emerge and go from 0 to 100 million in a year. It's crazy. And I think that will help with white collar work. With blue collar work, I kind of feel like it will be a little bit more general with humanoid robots being able to, and there will be a very specialized individual human like robots that can do one task and do it really well. Like the basic example would be a washing machine or a which is a robot, I mean, or a self-driving car, like for transport or trucking, logistics. But I think there'll be like a humanoid robot, like a Figure or something, or a Tesla bot that you buy as a consumer from a B2C perspective, and that will be the clear winner, because that TAM is huge. Now there is an argument around that perhaps more of a B2B robot that could do a warehouse job might even be a bigger opportunity, and Brett Adcock makes that argument quite well. But and then obviously military is a huge other use case as well. But when it comes to, do you share my sentiment that the physical humanoid robots will be probably more owned by a smaller number of players that have generalized robots that can do a wide variety of tasks, whereas the software white collar work will probably be more specialized vertical agents for a specific use case? Do you see where I'm coming at there?
Yeah, so I think the hardware is becoming a commodity in kind of the humanoid world. I think software is more important than hardware. I think in the past, building a robot was always a hardware sort of a challenge. It wasn't a software challenge because there's only so much you can do from a software front. I think now you've unlocked the power of foundational models and just being able to structure your data in a very sort of a scalable way. And so oftentimes the software is sort of a challenge for any sort of the robot. And even within that, it's a data issue. So Tesla has a huge advantage because their cars have the camera strapped to each of the vehicles. So even before they launched the robotaxi, they have hours and hours of footage, millions of hours of footage, just with cars going around every day. And so it's inherently a data sort of a challenge. So I think to answer your question, I think there's going to be software players that specifically are working within specific niches, and they partner with the hardware sort of partner that can build the humanoid frame and integrate the software and things like that. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's sort of a high level zoomed out view of it.
What's your timeline, if I had to try and ask you for one on the humanoid side? Like it's the most common non-technical person question that I get. Like if I'm like getting dinner with my family or something, and then they know I'm in this world of AI. When can I have a robot to do my dishes or to walk my dog or whatever? Like do you see this as a pre or post 2030 type thing where like the average income family will be able to buy one of these?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we're already seeing these right now, right? I mean, you look in the YC batch, I think there's a humanoid they can pre-order to do very focused things. So that's what robots have done in the past. They're trained to do one or two focus things. And so I think if you think about that, I think, yes, you can buy a robot to fold your laundry. You could buy a robot to make you food potentially. And within that, only maybe certain things they can make. I think it's beyond 2030 when we get to the robot that just hanging around in your house and you can just ask it to do anything you want it to do and it'll be able to do it. That's where you need like the general intelligence, and that's where we're just not there yet. But to build a robot that can do just a focus or like a narrow task, I don't think we're too far away from that. I think that can be within the next five years that actually starts to become a thing. And so it depends kind of what you're looking for, but I think when we
Yeah.
think about general intelligence, I would probably say after 2030.
Yeah, I will be the first early adopter. I'm so excited by this stuff. Let me ask you
Yeah.
one more question on timelines to finish up. What about AGI? I mean, everyone's got a different definition of this, but I guess when do you think we'll have a universally agreed upon definition of AGI, which most people would say, yeah, we've achieved this. We have AGI now. Would you say under or over 10 years?
Yeah, I would say under 10 years, but I like to always say that. I mean, I think that AI is powerful, but I think that there's a lot of folks who say AI is more powerful than it actually is, just for like a marketing strategy. Like you see tweets all the time. Oh, I streamlined my entire workflow. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
There's like you need a human in the loop still. It's not the perfect thing. It's not going to completely replace your job. It might not even be able to do that within the next 2 to 3 years.
Sure.
5 years from now, I think if it's able to control your computer and it's able to control your browser, it can automate the majority of your web tasks. At that point, if it's actually able to control a lot of the web tasks, I think that at that point that it probably is AGI.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think we're really there yet, and I think it's going to take probably 5 years. I think it's going to take 10. 10-year mark is going to be a scary mark, I will say.
Yeah, it'll be super interesting to see what the world looks like. And yeah, look, I mean, like, I do like hundreds of instances of Manus and ChatGPT's agent mode every day. So it feels like AGI is here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question for you. How do you think the recruiting of the world is going to evolve with AI? Are we ever going to have a human interviewer, or is it going to always be AI?
I think the vast majority of first stage interviews will be done by an AI agent, and we do thousands of these a day. Like and we can do them in 30 languages. They work 24/7 at the fraction of a cost of a person. Humans prefer it because it's more convenient. There's less human bias. It's just like a mind-blowing experience for them to do. So like all the data tells us that it's going to just continue to exponentially increase, and like companies can either embrace AI and live on the edge of the future, or they can ignore it and they get left behind like the dinosaurs. So I don't think it's a case of like if, I think it's a case of when, and I think that when is very, very soon. I think the AGI moment for recruiting is going to be in the next couple of months, in the same way that Cursor did it for software engineering, or Harvey did it for legal, or Open Evidence did it for health. Yeah, and that's why I'm excited to be building in my space. But yeah, we can chat about that.
Yeah, awesome,
if
man.
people have enjoyed this, where do they go to learn more? Like, should they check you out on LinkedIn or the fund's website? If you had to direct them to one place, but where would that be?
My LinkedIn. You'll see all the projects that I'm working on. You'll see my contact information as well. If you need to reach out, you can reach out to me at anon@scrum.vc. And yeah, I love to build. I love to invest. I love the ecosystem. So I'm here for the long game.
Amazing. All right. Thank you, Anand. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you click the follow or subscribe button wherever you're watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Introducing Lisa, the world's first AI-powered recruiter. She's an AI agent who works 24/7, screening candidates on autopilot, conducting interviews in 30 different languages, uploading all the best candidates to your applicant tracking system. Hire 10 times faster at 90% lower cost, and significantly improve the candidate experience. Visit welovealpha.com to start your free trial now.